I caught my sister kissing a married man. She begged me not to tell her husband. I exposed her anyway. 3 weeks later, she vanished, and her lover warned me, your revenge sent her back to her abuser. I had stopped near an apartment complex when I noticed my sister's car in the parking lot. Ellen didn't live there, and I couldn't think of anyone she knew in the building. I might have forgotten about it if I hadn't seen her walking toward the car with a man beside her. I recognized him as Neil, someone connected to her workplace. He was married. He had children. Ellen had mentioned him before, but never in a way that made me suspicious. She always spoke about him like he was just another person she occasionally dealt with through work. Then he touched her face. Ellen smiled up at him, and for one brief second, she looked happier than I had seen her in years. She leaned forward and kissed him. It wasn't a quick mistake. It wasn't something they immediately pulled away from. The kiss was slow and familiar. Neil's hand settled against her waist, and Ellen moved closer without hesitation. I sat frozen behind my steering wheel. My first thought was that I had misunderstood what I was seeing. My second was that her husband deserved to know. Philip had been part of our family for 15 years. I didn't think of him as only my brother-in-law. He had shown up for birthdays, hospital visits, and every family emergency. When Ellen went through a long period of depression, Philip stayed beside her. He cooked when she wouldn't eat. He made excuses for her when she couldn't face people. He sat quietly beside her during family gatherings when she didn't feel like talking. At least, that was what the rest of us saw. My parents talked about Ellen and Philip as if their marriage proved that love could survive anything. And now Ellen was kissing someone else beside an apartment building in the middle of the afternoon. I raised my phone and took a photograph through the windshield. I didn't stop to question why. I just knew she might deny it if I confronted her without proof. Then I called her. Ellen stepped away from Neil and looked down at her phone. When she saw my name, she frowned. I watched her answer. "Hey," she said. "Turn around." She slowly looked across the parking lot. The moment she saw my car, every trace of warmth disappeared from her face. Neil followed her stare. I got out. Ellen said something to him before walking quickly toward me. "What are you doing here?" she asked. I stared at her. "What am I doing here?" Her eyes started toward Neil. "This isn't what it looks like. I watched you kiss him. Keep your voice down. Does Philip know?" Her face tightened. "Don't say his name here." "Why? You think your boyfriend forgot you have a husband?" "He isn't my boyfriend." Neil started walking toward us. Ellen immediately turned. "Go," she told him. He stopped several feet away. "Are you sure?" "Yes. Please." He looked at me with irritation rather than embarrassment. There was no apology in his expression. No panic. He looked like I was the one creating an inconvenience. "Does your wife know you're here?" I asked. His jaw tightened. Ellen moved between us. I said go. Neil hesitated before walking back toward the building. I watched him enter through a side door. Ellen grabbed my arm. "Come with me." I pulled away. "Don't touch me. We can't do this in a parking lot. There shouldn't be anything to discuss. Please let me explain." I should have walked away. Instead, I followed her to a coffee shop several minutes away. We sat in the farthest corner. Ellen wrapped both hands around a paper cup she never drank from. For the first few minutes, she lied. She said Neil had kissed her unexpectedly. Then she admitted they had kissed before but insisted nothing else had happened. When I asked why they were meeting at an apartment, she claimed they had gone there only to talk privately. Every explanation changed as soon as I questioned it. Finally, I placed my phone on the table and showed her the picture. Her face collapsed. "How long?" I asked. She said nothing. "How long have you been seeing him?" "Crystal." "How long?" "Several months." The answer made my stomach turn. "Does his wife know?" "No." "Does Philip know?" Her eyes widened. "Of course not. You say that like I'm stupid for asking." "I didn't mean it that way." "What did you mean?" She looked around the coffee shop. "I mean Philip can never know." I laughed once. It sounded cruel even to me. "You don't get to decide that anymore." Her hand moved across the table. "No." I pulled mine away before she could touch it. "He deserves to know what his wife is doing." "You don't understand." "I understand that he stood beside you when you could barely get out of bed. He took care of you for years, and now that you're feeling better, you're paying him back by cheating on him." Ellen's expression changed. "You think Philip made me better?" "He supported you. He was present." What's the difference? She stared down at the table. I was angry enough to keep going. You're pathetic. Ellen flinched as if I had struck her. The word hung between us. She pressed one hand over her mouth and began to cry. At the time, I assumed she was crying because she had been caught. I'm telling him, I said. She looked at me through wet eyes. Please don't hurt us. You already hurt him. You'll hurt him more than you hurt me. That isn't my responsibility. She leaned closer. You could destroy him. Then you should have thought about that. I think about it every day. Apparently not enough to stop. She shook her head. You don't know what my marriage is. I know what everyone sees. That's exactly the problem. I waited for her to explain. She didn't. Instead, she wiped her face and stood. Give me 2 days. For what? To show you. Show me what? Why this happened? There is no explanation that makes it acceptable. I'm not asking you to approve. What are you asking? For you to understand before you decide what to destroy. She left before I answered. That evening, Ellen called repeatedly. I ignored every call. She sent messages asking me to meet her on Saturday. I wanted to refuse, but part of me needed to hear what excuse could possibly require 2 days to prepare. My husband, Frank, noticed something was wrong. You've been staring at your phone all night, he said. Ellen and I had an argument. About what? I can't tell you yet. Frank studied my face. Is she okay? She's the one who caused the problem. That didn't answer me. I need time to think. He didn't pressure me, but I could tell the answer bothered him. On Saturday morning, Ellen arrived at our house carrying a thick envelope. Her eyes were swollen, and her hair was pulled back carelessly. She looked like she hadn't slept since the coffee shop. Frank was in the kitchen when I let her inside. He greeted her, then looked between us. I'll give you some privacy. Ellen waited until he had gone upstairs before placing the envelope on the dining table. What is that? I asked. Proof that I'm not inventing this. She sat down. I remained standing. Philip and I haven't had a physical marriage in almost 12 years. For a moment, I thought I had misheard her. What? He has a medical condition. I slowly took the chair across from her. You're saying he's unable to? Yes. She stared at the table. He's deeply ashamed of it. Almost no one knows. And you're telling me because you were caught. I'm telling you because you said he rescued me from depression when he was part of the reason I became depressed. Don't blame him for your affair. I'm not blaming him. You just said. I'm explaining what our marriage became. She opened the envelope and removed printed emails, text conversations, and copies of journal pages. Some exchanges were between Ellen and Philip. Others were messages she had sent to a therapist. The dates went back years. Ellen had repeatedly asked Philip to seek treatment, attend counseling, or discuss other ways they could be close. Some of his responses were apologetic. Others were defensive. A few accused Ellen of trying to embarrass him. In one message, she wrote that she had stopped bringing up affection because every conversation ended with Philip refusing to speak to her for days. You stayed for 12 years? I asked. I loved him. You could have left. I thought things would change. And when they didn't? I convinced myself the rest of our marriage was enough. She turned one of the journal pages toward me. It described lying beside someone who wouldn't touch her and wondering whether wanting affection made her selfish. I pushed the page back. None of this explains why you didn't leave before starting an affair. Ellen nodded. You're right. I hadn't expected her to agree. I should have left, she continued. I should have made a decision years ago. Then why didn't you? Philip says I'm the only person he has. That isn't true. It's what he believes. We're his family too. He doesn't mean it that way. How does he mean it? Ellen glanced toward the staircase. He says he wouldn't survive if I left. A cold feeling moved through me. Has he threatened to hurt himself? Not directly. Then what does he say? That there would be no reason for him to keep going. That sounds like a threat. He doesn't say it to manipulate me. How do you know? Because I know him. The answer came too quickly. I looked down at the messages. Does he know you're unhappy? Yes. Does he care? He loves me. That wasn't what I asked. She closed her eyes. Philip is not a monster. I didn't say he was. You're thinking it. I'm trying to understand why you sound afraid to leave him. I'm not afraid of him. Then what are you afraid of? She took several seconds to answer. What he would become without me. I remembered something that had happened 5 years earlier. Ellen and Philip had been arguing. He struck her once across the face. She left that night without telling anyone where she was. She stayed away for several days while Philip called our family in a panic. When Ellen returned, she told us he had apologized repeatedly and understood that it could never happen again. She insisted it was an isolated incident. We believed her because she wanted us to. Has he hit you again? I asked. No. Has he threatened you? No. Does he control where you go? She hesitated. He gets jealous. That isn't an answer. He asks questions. He worries. Does he check your phone? Sometimes. Does he tell you who you can see? No. Another pause. Not exactly. What does that mean? It means our marriage is complicated. And Neil fixed it? No. You said you were depressed because your husband wouldn't touch you. Then Neil appeared, and suddenly you were happier. That is what happened. At the expense of 2 marriages. I know. Does Neil's wife know her marriage is supposedly empty? Ellen looked away. I don't know what he has told her. So everything you know about his marriage came from him. Yes. You don't see the problem with that? I see every problem. She sounded exhausted rather than defensive. Since I started seeing Neil, I sleep again, she said. I laugh. I don't wake up every morning feeling like there's something wrong with me. That doesn't make it right. I never said it did. Then what do you want from me? I want time to end it safely. Safely? She immediately shook her head. That was the wrong word. What would be unsafe? Nothing. I meant carefully. Because Philip might become angry? Of course he'll be angry. Ellen. He is not abusing me. He hit you. Once. Years ago. He checks your phone. He worries. He says he has no reason to live without you. He loves me. Every answer sounded like something she had repeated to herself many times. You're asking me to lie for you, I said. I'm asking you not to expose everything before I know what I'm going to do. How much time? I don't know. That means forever. No. She reached across the table. Right now, everyone is functioning. Philip believes our marriage is okay. Neil's family is still together. I'm finally not falling apart. That isn't happiness. It's the closest thing any of us has. I pulled my hand away. You built it on lies. Yes. Her honesty left me with nothing to argue against. She placed the documents back inside the envelope, then pushed it toward me. You keep this. Why? So you know I didn't invent any of it. I believe you about the condition. That isn't the only thing I'm trying to show you. What else is there? She looked at me for a long moment. I don't know how to explain it without making him sound worse than he is. That sentence should have stopped me. Instead, I closed the envelope and placed it inside a cabinet. Ellen stood. Please don't tell him yet. I haven't decided. You already have. She walked toward the door. Before leaving, she turned back. You think knowing the truth always gives people freedom. Sometimes it gives them a weapon. On Monday, Ellen asked me to meet her again. She said Neil wanted to speak with me. I didn't want to see him, but I agreed because I needed to know whether they were actually ending the affair. They chose a quiet restaurant. Neil was already sitting beside Ellen when I arrived. He barely looked at me. Ellen's hands were clenched beneath the table. We're ending it, she said. Neil turned toward her. That isn't what we agreed. You said you would let me handle this. I said hiding forever wasn't an option. I looked at him. You want Ellen to leave Philip? I want both of us to stop pretending. You're still married. I'm prepared to end my marriage. Does your wife know? His expression hardened. My marriage is my responsibility. And Philip's marriage isn't? I didn't say that. Ellen leaned toward him. This was a mistake. Meeting her or us? Neil asked. Bringing you here. I'm tired of watching you go back to a life that's destroying you. Stop. You said you wanted a real life. I said things when I thought no one was listening. I was listening. The tension between them felt less like romance and more like a negotiation neither of them knew how to end. Then I noticed a thin chain around Ellen's neck. A gold ring hung beneath her blouse. Did he give you that? I asked. Ellen covered it instinctively. It doesn't matter. It matters if Philip sees it. He won't. Neil looked at her. You said you would keep it. Not now. It was a promise. It was a gift. To me, it meant more than that. Ellen removed the chain and placed it inside her handbag. I'll get rid of it. Neil's face changed. You can't be serious. I said this is over. You don't mean that. I do. He stared at her. Then tell Philip. Ellen went pale. What? Tell him. I'll tell my wife. We stop hiding and deal with what happens next. You said you would give me time. You've had months. Ellen stood. I'm leaving. Neil reached toward her wrist, but she moved before he touched her. Don't, she warned. He lowered his hand. I followed her outside. She was shaking. Are you afraid of Neil too? I asked. No. You looked afraid in there. I'm afraid of everything. That isn't an answer. She turned toward me. Do you understand now? There is no clean way out. You could tell Philip yourself. And then what? You separate. You say it like I can pack a suitcase and walk away. Can't you? Her expression became unreadable. Give me until the end of the week. To do what? End things with Neil and decide how to speak to Philip. Will you tell him? I don't know. That isn't good enough. It's the truth. She walked away. The following evening, I called Philip. I didn't give Ellen until the end of the week. I told myself that if I waited, she would change her story, persuade Neil to deny it or continue the affair in secret. I asked Philip to meet me at a diner. He arrived smiling. That almost stopped me. Is Ellen coming? He asked. No. He sat across from me. What happened? I placed my phone on the table. You need to see something. Philip stared at the photograph. For several seconds, he didn't react. Then he picked up my phone and enlarged the image. Who is that? His name is Neil. Philip looked at me. Someone she knows through work? Yes. This could be. It's an affair. The words sounded brutal in the quiet diner. Philip returned his attention to the screen. How do you know? I confronted her. She admitted it? Yes. How long? Several months. He leaned back as though I had shoved him. A server stopped beside us and asked whether we wanted coffee. Neither of us answered. Philip stared at the photograph again. Did she tell him about me? I knew what he meant. I hesitated. His face changed. She told him. She was trying to explain why it happened. She told another man about my condition. I'm sorry. No, you're not. The words came out sharply. Then he looked ashamed. I didn't mean that. You're allowed to be angry. At her. He pressed both hands against his face. Does he love her? I don't know. Does she love him? I don't know that either. He lowered his hands. Why are you telling me? Because I would want to know. That's it. I've been cheated on before. I remember. The betrayal was awful, but being the last person to know was worse. Philip looked toward the window. You did the right thing. The certainty in his voice gave me relief. I needed him to say it. I needed the person I believed I was protecting to confirm that I had protected him. The truth hurts, he said. But I needed to know. He called Ellen before leaving the parking lot. My phone started ringing less than 10 minutes later. Ellen called repeatedly. I didn't answer. Then she sent a message. Do you feel better now? How could you do this to me? I loved you. You ruined my life. I typed a response. You ruined your own life. I stared at the words, then deleted them. Frank was waiting when I arrived home. You told Philip, he said. It wasn't a question. How do you know? Your sister called me. My stomach tightened. What did she say? That you put her in danger. She's being dramatic. Frank's expression hardened. Is she? Philip is devastated. He isn't going to hurt her. You don't know that. I know him. You thought you knew Ellen too. I dropped my keys on the counter. She cheated on him. That doesn't make her safe. He hit her once 5 years ago, apologized, and never did it again. Frank stared at me. You knew he had hit her? She said it wasn't an ongoing problem. And you told him while she was still in the house with him? She said she wasn't afraid. You also said he was jealous, checked her phone, and told her he couldn't survive without her. She still chose to stay. That isn't the same as being safe. He deserves the truth. I'm not arguing with that. Then what are you saying? You should have made sure your sister had somewhere safe to go before you exposed her. She could come here. Did you offer before you told him? I said nothing. Frank turned away. Call her. She won't answer me. Try. I called. Ellen rejected the first attempt. The second went unanswered. On the third, Philip answered her phone. She doesn't want to speak to you, he said. I need to know she's okay. What do you think? I need to hear it from her. You've done enough. He disconnected the call. My parents learned about the affair from Philip. They were furious with Ellen. My mother cried while asking how her daughter could betray a man who had stayed beside her for so many years. My father said Philip deserved better. Neither of them blamed me. My mother only said I should have told them first so they could have pressured Ellen into confessing herself. Their approval made me feel less uncertain. For several days, Philip stayed elsewhere while Ellen remained in their home. Then he decided he wanted to save the marriage. Ellen agreed. At least, that was what Philip told us. He required her to end all contact with Neil. He wanted her to leave her job because that was how they had met. He also wanted them to move to the small town where his parents lived. Ellen argued about quitting. She argued about moving. Philip said her resistance proved she was still emotionally attached to Neil. My parents agreed with him. She has to show she's serious, my mother told me. 10 days after I revealed the affair, Ellen and Philip moved into his parents' house. She left her job. She stopped speaking to me. She barely spoke to our parents. All updates came through Philip. He said they were rebuilding. He said Ellen was remorseful. He said distance would help them repair the marriage. Frank was unconvinced. He's taking her away from everyone, he said. He's taking her away from Neil. And from us. She agreed to go. Did she tell you that herself? No. Then you don't know what she agreed to. For the next 11 days, I told myself Ellen needed time. I believed she was refusing to speak to us because she was ashamed and angry. Exactly 3 weeks after I told Philip, my mother called after midnight. She was crying so hard that I could barely understand her. Ellen is gone. I sat upright in bed. What do you mean? Philip woke up and she wasn't there. Frank turned on the bedside lamp. Where's her car? She didn't take it. Her phone. She left it behind. Did she take anything? Her identification is missing. Some medication too. Philip thinks someone took her. Then Philip called me. His voice sounded controlled, but panic sat underneath it. She waited until I was asleep. Did you argue? We've been disagreeing. About what? She wanted to start working again. Why was that a problem? She used work to meet him. That was her old job. She hasn't earned trust. Did she have access to her phone? Of course. Then why did she leave it? He paused. I kept it at night. Why? Because she kept trying to contact him. Did you read her messages? I'm her husband. That doesn't answer the question. She betrayed me, Crystal. I was trying to protect our marriage. Did she have access to money? We shared everything. Did she have her bank cards? Another pause. This isn't helping us find her. He ended the call. I immediately messaged Neil. Is Ellen with you? Her family needs to know she's safe. He replied within minutes. Do not contact us again. The word us answered the first question. I called through the app. He rejected it. I sent another message. I don't need your address. Tell me whether my sister is alive. His response appeared almost instantly. She is alive. She left voluntarily. If you, Philip, or your parents keep trying to locate her, we will involve the police. I showed the message to Frank. He read it twice. Ask why she left without telling anyone. I sent another message. Why did she disappear like that? Neil didn't respond. My mother called again. I told her Ellen appeared to be alive and with him. She demanded his contact information. I'm not giving it to you. That is my daughter. He says he'll contact the police if we keep trying to reach them. Why would he threaten us? I don't know. Philip says he kidnapped her. She took her identification and medication. That doesn't prove anything. At that point, all I knew was that Ellen had spoken briefly to my mother the previous afternoon. Later, I learned that she had borrowed Philip's mother's phone for the call. While my mother was still on the line, Ellen stepped into another room and sent Neil a message asking for help. He drove several hours to collect her. She left behind anything Philip could easily track. Her phone, her car, her laptop. She hid her identification, medication, and a folded cloth bag beneath her coat. After everyone fell asleep, she walked to the end of the road and got into Neil's car. Before I learned any of that, I spent hours wondering why my sister would terrify us by disappearing without a note. Then Neil finally answered. Philip took her electronics, controlled her money, and wouldn't let her speak to anyone privately. She had to escape while he was asleep. I read the message aloud to Frank. His expression became grim. I typed another question. Did he hurt her? Neil's reply came almost immediately. He isolated her and threatened her whenever she tried to leave. Your revenge sent her back to her abuser. I stared at the words. The sentence felt designed to hurt me. It worked. Neil had reasons to lie. He wanted Ellen. He had betrayed his own wife. He could make Philip sound dangerous to justify taking Ellen away. I called Philip. Did you take her laptop? She was using it to communicate with him. Did you keep her phone? I already explained that. Did you control her money? She wasn't working. That wasn't my question. He exhaled sharply. Why are you interrogating me? Neil says she wasn't safe. Philip gave a bitter laugh. You believe him? I'm asking you. I never hurt her. Did you threaten her? No. Did she tell you she wanted to leave? She wasn't thinking clearly. Did she ask for her phone back? She had proven she couldn't be trusted. Did she want to move to your parents' town? We decided together. She argued against it. Because she wanted to stay near him. Did she have private contact with our parents? She didn't want to speak to anyone. Then why did she have to borrow your mother's phone? Silence. Philip. You don't understand what it was like, he said. Every notification made me wonder whether she was talking to him. Every time she left a room, I imagined them together. I was trying to stop the affair from continuing. You could have ended the marriage. I love my wife. That doesn't give you ownership over her. She agreed to rebuild. Did she agree, or did she believe she had no other option? His voice changed. You caused this too. The accusations struck harder than I expected. You showed me the photograph, he continued. You said I deserved the truth. You did. Then don't judge how I handled it. He ended the call. I sat on the edge of the bed with my phone in my hands. Frank stood near the doorway. What did he say? He says he didn't hurt her. Do you believe him? I don't know. You didn't need certainty before you exposed her. That was different. How? Because I knew she was cheating. You knew one part of the story. She betrayed him. And he used that betrayal to control her. We don't know everything that happened. No, Frank said. But she tried to warn you that the situation was complicated, and you decided every warning was an excuse. That isn't fair. Neither was telling a man with a history of violence that his wife was cheating while she was still living with him. He hit her once. Frank stared at me. You keep saying once as though it made her safer. She told me he wasn't abusing her. People protect spouses they are afraid of. You don't know what she felt. Neither did you. His voice stayed quiet. That made it worse. You told Philip because being cheated on traumatized you, he continued. You wanted to give him what you wish someone had given you. The truth. Yes, but Ellen wasn't the person who betrayed you. I wanted to argue. Instead, I remembered how relieved I had felt when Philip thanked me. I remembered taking the photograph before I had even spoken to Ellen. I had preserved evidence, controlled when it was revealed, and decided who deserved access to it. I had called it justice. Maybe some of it was. But I could no longer deny that my own past had shaped the punishment I believed Ellen deserved. My mother wanted to know exactly where Ellen was. I refused to give her Neil's account information because I knew she would pass it to Philip. She called the non-emergency police line and requested a welfare check, but she didn't have a confirmed address. The police explained that Ellen was an adult. Unless there was evidence that she was being held against her will, they couldn't force her to return or contact her family. Philip continued insisting Neil had taken her. He moved into my parents' house while trying to persuade the police to investigate. My mother believed him. My father said Neil had manipulated Ellen. I still hadn't told them what Neil claimed Philip had done. I said I was protecting my mother's health. Frank didn't accept that explanation. You had no problem telling her about the affair, he said. That was different. You keep saying that. My mother is already devastated. And what happens when she learns she has been housing the man Ellen may have escaped from? We don't know that she escaped. Then tell them exactly what you know and let them decide. Not tonight. Yes, tonight. I should be the one to tell them. Then come with me. I couldn't move. Frank stared at me. This is what you did to Ellen, he said. You made a decision about her life because facing the entire situation was uncomfortable. He left without me. At my parents' house, Frank told them about Neil's allegations. He explained that Philip had taken Ellen's electronics, restricted her communication, and pressured her into moving away. Philip denied everything. He said the restrictions were necessary because Ellen refused to end contact with Neil. My father believed him. My mother said Ellen had always been emotional and might have exaggerated ordinary arguments. Frank asked Philip to leave until Ellen's safety could be confirmed. My father told Frank he had no right to order anyone out of their home. The confrontation became so heated that Frank left before the police had to be called. When he returned, His hands were shaking. They're protecting him. They're scared. They're choosing the version that makes them comfortable. I knew he wasn't only talking about my parents. For several days, Frank barely spoke to me. We slept in the same bed, but the distance between us felt enormous. Neil eventually blocked me. Before he did, he sent one final message. Ellen will contact you if she ever feels safe doing it. Stop asking us for information you might give to Philip. I wanted to promise that I would never help Philip find her. Then I realized I had already passed private information between people because I believed the truth belonged to whoever demanded it. Neil's wife learned about the affair. For one day, she posted photographs and publicly accused Ellen of destroying her family. The posts disappeared quickly, and her accounts became private. I didn't blame her for being furious. She had been betrayed too. Her children had been dragged into a situation they didn't create. Neil might have helped my sister leave, but that didn't erase the damage he caused his family. Ellen's affair was still wrong. That truth didn't disappear because Philip may also have mistreated her. She could have betrayed her husband and still deserved safety. Philip could have been devastated and still have crossed lines that frightened her. Neil could have helped Ellen escape while remaining responsible for the pain he caused at home. Understanding that did not excuse anyone. It only meant the situation had never been as simple as I wanted it to be. I tried to email Ellen. The first message I wrote was defensive. I was trying to help. I deleted it. The second said I hadn't known Philip would react that way. I deleted that too. Finally, I wrote, I'm sorry I didn't listen when you tried to show me you were afraid. You don't owe me forgiveness or contact. I only need to know you're safe. I sent it to an old address she rarely used. There was no response. Philip eventually left my parents' house. My mother had begun questioning why he needed to remain close when Ellen had made it clear she wanted no contact. He returned to his parents' town. Before leaving, he sent me a message. You did the right thing. None of this is your fault. Weeks earlier, those words would have comforted me. Now they didn't. I never replied. My parents continued believing Ellen would return once Neil's influence faded. My father called the affair an obsession. My mother said Ellen would eventually understand how badly she had treated everyone. Neither wanted to discuss why Ellen had waited until the house was asleep or why she left behind every device that could track her. They preferred to believe she had been lured away. That version meant she hadn't been running from anyone. Frank refused contact with them. He eventually began speaking to me again, but our marriage didn't return to normal. One evening, I asked whether he thought we would recover. He sat at the kitchen table for a long time before answering. This isn't only about whether you made a bad decision, he said. Then what is it about? Whether you understand why you made it. I thought Philip deserved to know. He did deserve honesty. Then what should I have done? You could have helped Ellen make a safe plan first. She never directly asked me to help her leave. She asked for time. She showed you years of messages. She told you he checked her phone, became jealous, and said he couldn't survive without her. She also said he wasn't abusing her. And you chose the answer that made your decision easier. I looked down. I remember what it felt like to be cheated on, I said. I remember realizing other people knew before I did. Frank's expression softened slightly. But this wasn't your old relationship, he said. You couldn't correct what happened to you by controlling what happened to them. I started seeing a therapist. During one session, I explained how powerless I had felt after my own betrayal. My therapist asked whether exposing Ellen had made me feel powerful. I wanted to say no, but I remembered raising my phone in the parking lot. I had taken the picture before I confronted her. For once, I had been the person with the information instead of the person being deceived. I had decided when the truth would be revealed. I had decided that Ellen's request for time was another manipulation instead of a warning. I still believed Philip deserved to know about the affair. I still believed Ellen and Neil should have ended their marriages before beginning another relationship. Loneliness did not make their choices harmless. But telling the truth did not absolve me from thinking about what might happen after it was told. I could have warned Ellen that I would not keep the affair secret indefinitely. I could have helped her arrange somewhere safe to stay. I could have involved Frank before confronting Philip. I could have taken the previous incident seriously. I could have waited until Ellen had access to her identification, money, and private communication. Instead, I gave the truth directly to the person she seemed most afraid to confront. Then I walked away believing my part was finished. Months passed before Ellen finally responded. The email arrived shortly after 2 in the morning. It contained only 3 sentences. I'm alive. I'm safe. I'm not ready to speak to you. Please stop giving Mom and Dad hope that I'm coming back soon. I read it repeatedly. There was no forgiveness. No explanation of where she was. No confirmation that she and Neil were still together. But she was alive. I replied with one sentence. I understand, and I'm sorry. She didn't answer. I didn't write again. The envelope she brought to my house remains locked in a drawer. The emails. The therapy messages. The journal pages documenting years of loneliness and fear. When she first showed them to me, I read only enough to confirm that she was telling the truth about the physical distance in her marriage. I didn't read closely enough to understand what else she might have been trying to show me. Sometimes I think about opening the envelope again. Then I remember those pages were never mine. Ellen trusted me with them because she was desperate. I violated enough of that trust already. The envelope stays closed. I don't know whether Ellen and Neil will last. I don't know whether he is a good man. He lied to his wife, hurt his family, and pressured Ellen to leave before she was ready. Driving through the night to help her does not erase those facts. Maybe their relationship will collapse once secrecy and crisis are no longer holding it together. Maybe Ellen will realize she traded one controlling situation for another. Maybe she will eventually leave Neil too and build a life that belongs entirely to her. Whatever happens, I hope she never again feels that disappearing in the middle of the night is her only way out. My parents still ask whether I have heard from her. I tell them only that she is alive. I don't share the email. I don't give them a way to reach her. For the first time, I am allowing Ellen to control her own information. My mother believes I'm protecting Neil. My father says I'm betraying the family. Maybe their anger is part of the consequence I have to accept. Frank and I are still working through what happened. Trust returned slowly. Not because I persuaded him that I had good intentions, but because I stopped using those intentions as proof that I had caused no harm. I once wanted everyone divided into innocent people and guilty people. Philip had been betrayed, so I made him innocent. Ellen had cheated, so I made her guilty. Neil was married, so I assumed everything he said was manipulation. And, because I had survived infidelity, I believed I was qualified to decide what all of them deserved. The truth was never that clean. I don't know whether exposing the affair forced Ellen to escape a marriage she should have left years earlier. I don't know whether my decision pushed her into another relationship that will eventually hurt her. I may never know whether she sees me as the sister who destroyed her life or the person whose betrayal accidentally gave her the final reason to run. All I know is that I made the choice that allowed me to sleep at night. Then I learned that sleeping peacefully was never proof that I had chosen correctly. So was I right to expose my sister's affair because her husband deserved the truth, or did I use my own pain as revenge and ignore the danger she was trying to show me?